That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's see who accepts the stream. Twitch has accepted the stream. YouTube has accepted the stream. Now we gotta wait for Facebook.
Oh, and our Facebook account was hacked, so I'm not able to put it on the Western New York Peace Center
All right,
stream. So it'll just be on your stream.
okay.
Yeah. Until we regain
So at the end of the night, I'll
control.
send you the link so when you get it unhacked, you can put it on.
Right. Right. Thanks.
Okay. Everybody has accepted the stream. Are you ready to start the show?
Wonderful. Yes.
Okay, you see the timer in the center of the screen?
Mm-hmm.
When it says on the air, you're on the air, okay?
Thank you. Welcome to Talking Peace with the Western New York Peace Center, being recorded here at Think Twice Radio, in the home of the future, also the home of our friend and producer, Richard Wicca. Thank you, Richard. And we thank, too, our friends at WBNY, Buffalo's original alternative radio station, coming out of Buff State. Thank you, Buff State and WBNY. And when I think of thankfulness, I think of our indigenous friends, our indigenous relations, who, in spite of all the trickery and suffering, in spite of their lands being stolen and the violence that they have endured, as well as our friends, our black friends who have come, who were brought here not under their, against their will and enslaved, yet people still continue to be thankful, to have thankfulness as a high virtue and a thread running through our days. And often starting off with thanking Mother Earth for allowing us, this beautiful life to stomp on her, and holding us up under every condition, and all of the wonderful plants and animals and features of this creation, including the brother sun and grandmother moon and all of the stars and all of the creation and all of the creator and the love that animates it all. And so then when they say that, oftentimes then it would be the indigenous people would say, or at least the Haudenosaunee say, Nyahweh, and we are on Haudenosaunee land, they would say Nyahweh, and then the people would say no. So Nyahweh.
No.
Yeah.
And also Ashe. That's, of course, always often said, too. So this show is going to be on a very critical issue of attention to the Humboldt Parkway, restoring the Humboldt Parkway, and really urgent action is needed. And so we're very grateful that we have two people in studio and one more on the way. We have Terrence Robinson. Terry, hi, welcome.
Thank you so much.
And his wife and partner, Marcia Ladiana. Welcome,
Hi.
Marcia.
Hi, thank you.
So we're so grateful. First of all, you both know so much about this issue because you're deeply, deeply involved, and also homeowners on right by the 33 there, and as well as you're being an engineer. What kind of an engineer is it?
Environmental engineer.
Yeah, environmental engineer.
I worked at air pollution for like 29 years at least.
Very much on topic, as we will get into as we go. But before we do, I just want to, and then I'll just say too, that Candace Moppins will be joining us. I don't know when she'll get here, but she'll come right on in. That's Candace Moppins, who's also very involved in this, who, again, to the community around the 33, they know very well the health implications and all the economic implications. And we'll be talking about that. But before we do, if we could just talk about when you think of values that are you relate to this issue, what are those values that you think of? So I'll ask you first, Terry, and then you, Marcia.
Well, I guess to kind of encapsulate everything, the value I think most strongly of is the sense of place. It's the place where I was brought, shortly after birth. It's the place where I've grown up. It's the place where I live right now, and the people that I've lived around in that place for the last 7 decades. So all of those things, to me, are a complete value set.
Right.
Who we live with, how we live with them, and how we relate to the rest of our world and environment.
Right. So that sense of place is so big, and it's very interesting as we just started out talking about the Haudenosaunee, and in fact, I should say the Seneca, because this is Seneca territory of the 6 nations of the Haudenosaunee. But as you say, that sense of place that people have when they've just been in a place all their lives, or even for generations, sense of place and
Very
that
much so.
sacred place, the sacredness of that place.
It's a special place.
Right, right. Thank you, Terry.
I
And
mean,
Marcia?
I guess as an environmental person, my concern is the health and welfare of the people who live there, who
Right.
have been suffering for years from the air pollution, the noise, just lack of economic abilities to change anything. It's when they put that in, which they stole a parkway from us.
Right.
That they caused a lot of problems, and that's my big concern.
Right. Well, I want to say, of course, the people and planet, right, is one of the things.
And yes, the
So-
air and the air we breathe, and I mean everything. We have no trees.
Right.
All of that. It's
Right.
really a bad situation.
Right. It's so
Easily corrected.
right.
You know?
So I would say for me, the values I think of, they're the one, I'm going to trot out the same ones I always think of because truth and love. So the
Right.
truth of the matter of the data,
Right.
the actual situation, where we stand right now, which we'll get into. So the truth of that, and then the love for the people who are suffering, and even the love of the people who have a different opinion, who may
Absolutely.
not understand what's going on, or they have their own reasons for thinking differently. This is about looking at all of that. So that's what I like to do. So if we could, take those values of the value of place, the value of the caring for the people, and the earth, and the actual facts of the matter, and doing that compassionately. Let us sort of, for people who didn't see, we did a previous show, in fact, with the 3 of us, and Matt Deering was with us that time, and we'll have Candace in a while. But for people who haven't seen that show or haven't been following this issue, if you want to just lay it out between the 2 of you, sort of a little bit of how did we get here? Well, first, one simple question, and then really to open it up, is when did they build the 33? What year?
It was built in stages,
Uh-huh.
and I was born in 1954. So when I was a young fella, the Humboldt Parkway section was still there.
Right.
They began by building the Skajakwada
Uh-huh.
Expressway
Right.
in roughly 1955. They began the construction on that. And the portion between Agassiz Circle there at Parkside all the way to the Museum of Science just south of Northampton Street was in place roughly until 1960. In fact, the Humboldt Parkway section between East Delavan and Northampton remained in place through most of the 60s, till 1970, actually, between Delavan Street and the Humboldt, the Museum of Science. They didn't remove that portion until beginning in 1967 to 1970 is when they replaced the last portion of the Humboldt Parkway. But they had removed that section for the 33 from the Museum of Science to what they call the Elm Oak Arterial. They had removed that section in the 60s, and they had removed the portion that went from the, like I say, East Delavan into the 198, the Scajaquada Expressway. That all of that had happened prior to roughly 1960. So they essentially took the 33, the portion that went from the airport to just past Fillmore, where it linked up with the 198, and they left Humboldt Parkway. They called it the Hourglass. They left that roughly from 1960 to 70. They began replacing from Delavan all the way to Northampton, beginning in 1967 to 70. That last piece.
And so, if so, maybe then I'll turn to you, Marcia. In what would you say you've seen as the effects of the presence of that 33 corridor in this time?
Well, I mean, we've lived there since 1987, 88, something like that. But Terry's lived in the neighborhood all his life. But
Right.
I mean, it's just air pollution really bad, and noise, constant noise, and it because
Right.
it's depressed. It reverberates off the walls, so it's really loud.
Right.
And just people getting sick,
Right.
dying. Some of them.
Right.
It's not a good thing. Accidents all the time, horrific accidents. People dying unnecessarily because that highway is there,
Right.
above the highway and on the highway, because there's some sort of like optical illusion. When you like on the cross streets where you look at the light, there's two lights, and some people miss a light and they go through the light, and there's accidents there all the time. And not it's not a healthy place. It's not it's I don't know, it's very bad.
Well, one of the things about the health disparities that I know I've with these figures stuck in my brain of that the people on either side of the Parkway, of the 33 in that section there that we're talking about, that they're in the 98th percentile for asthma,
Low birth weight,
and
low
low
life expectancy,
and low life expectancy.
and it's
and they're
pretty high in
sealed-
cancer and
yeah,
heart disease and stuff
right,
like that.
Right, that it's in
Yeah.
the upper 90s percentile for,
Yeah.
for all those things. 97, 98 percentile,
Right.
which is
which is
very bad.
really high,
It's-
and that's
it's
from
bad.
the EPA.
Right,
It's,
Right.
we didn't make that up.
right.
So
So that's very big. So why don't, if you want to lay out, like, what is the plan, and then what is the current plan, and what is the East Side Parkways Coalition plan?
Well, let's first say that Humboldt Parkway
Yes.
and the neighborhoods along it still remains a very special place.
Right.
And it's still populated by very special people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's resilient, and it's beautiful, and the people are beautiful.
Right.
It's not all doom and gloom. I think about our neighbor down the street, only 3 or 4 houses down, Walter Miles, and he has the fabulous garden, Samantha's garden.
Oh, I think I've seen that.
You
Yes,
can't
yes, yes.
miss it.
No, you can't.
And you can't miss the care and the attention that the people along that section share.
Right.
So, what is the state proposes in order to maintain that that traffic facility, that tunnel, that cancer alley that exists there?
Right.
It's at its life. It's 60 years old. So the retaining walls are crumbling. The bridges are crumbling.
Right.
They have to rebuild the infrastructure in order to just maintain that traffic corridor. They have a corridor there that connects the suburbs to the main part of downtown, but it also the bulk of that traffic is local. So folks go from East Utica to Bailey to Grider to Fillmore. It's largely traveled by people that live within the city of Buffalo, but it's also a corridor for Cheektowaga, Amherst, and folks that come off of the 90.
Sure.
And the original plan was to link it with the rest of the expressways, so that literally you can be anywhere in Buffalo or the near suburbs within 20 minutes. That was the concept. And in order to maintain that regional network, what they want to do is continue the same traffic facility that's existed for the last 50 or 60 years. They want to continue that same vehicle capacity and that roadway into the next 50 or 60 years. So that what they've proposed, instead of just saying that we want to redo it, which they need to do just to maintain the roadway,
Right.
to
Right.
maintain
It's
the bridges.
dangerous now.
They want to
Right.
cap a small section of that, roughly from Best Street. They've wanted to go to Ferry Street, and now it's Sydney Street, where the overpass is roughly. So they propose to cap that and make it a tunnel. Essentially what they're
Which
doing.
would be what proportion is that? Half of it?
Well,
a third of it?
It's like
roughly it's
4,500 feet.
40, just under a mile, 4,500 feet, and the section from let's just say High Street, Best Street, to Parkside is 3.5 miles. But if you talk about the entire length from Michigan Street, Oak Elm Arterial, and you to the Parkside, that's roughly 4 miles, and then you add another, same roughly 4 miles if you're talking the Skagakwa Expressway to the 190.
So it's like a quarter of it.
Yeah.
Of the whole
well,
thing.
this project, the immediate project,
right.
is about
The proposed project of the tunnel.
Is-
of the so-called
you're right.
restoration
It is
of
a
the park.
tunnel. What
It's
they
a
want
tunnel.
to do
It's not
is
a cap, it's a tunnel.
they're going to construct
Very
Right.
different.
a tunnel, and the reason they want to do that is because they'll have to spend $750 to $850 million just to maintain the present structure. And if they cap it,
Yeah.
then they can claim that they're reconnecting the community, and they can regroup. The state of New York can get 80% from the federal government.
Oh, that's why.
But
Okay.
that's the only reason for the cap. But they have to spend the $750 million just to maintain that infrastructure right now, because they have to remove the retaining walls, they have to remove the bridges, they have to remove the
time's
roadway.
up.
Time's up.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
That's the facts of the matter. If they want to maintain that roadway and continue it, they have to spend $750 to $850 million without a cap, without a tunnel.
So now what would you say, Marcia, in terms of especially the environmental effects and the health effects of the proposition of the tunnel?
Well, I mean, all of the air pollution that's currently dispersed as cars drive
Right.
through the highway is going to be concentrated coming out of each end of the tunnel
Right.
at the portals. And I mean, I recently read a study by UC Davis where they took I forget the name of the tunnel. It's near Oakland, but I think it's Caldecott or something like
Uh-huh.
that. And they set up a a lab at one end, and they sampled the air and exposed different ages of rats to the air, and it turned out that I mean, they did a bunch of studies, but the one that I looked at was they found cognitive decline in the young rats and dementia in the old rats. So that's clearly those are two of the effects of exposure to exhaust fumes from cars.
Right. So it
So-
would be more concentrated.
Right.
So
And-
it'll be worse than
and
it is already.
And it was a very similar situation to ours. It was a short tunnel, you know, and maybe a lane more, but it was a little bit shorter. So but it was very very close. But it showed that this does have an effect on our health, and they're
Sure.
exposing children. There's a school right there,
Right.
you know, right by the science museum, and they found that it's the ultrafines, which they don't even regulate directly, that were causing the biggest problem. You know, so it's clearly a problem.
So now, what if we move on, and we'll circle back to what's going on here too, but to just now, what is it that East Side Parkways Coalition is recommending? If you want to talk a little about that,
They're recommending complete removal of the highway,
right?
the 198 and the 33, and restoring Humboldt Parkway. So
That's a
that's
the,
a
the
very
East,
simple way of saying
Right.
it. You
the
know.
East Side Parkways Coalition
Right.
has several lawsuits going.
Right.
One
Let's
of-
talk about those.
Yeah, well, one of
You
the,
can
the
talk
one of those that was just they amended the complaint today, and that particular lawsuit says that the Green Amendment, the amendment to the New York State Constitution, Article 119, that was passed only 2 years ago, guarantees every person the right to clean air and a healthful
Right.
environment.
Right.
So not only did that's one aspect of the lawsuit that was filed just today. I
Right.
mean, the amended complaint of that was filed just today. And
Wow.
they said that they want the court to go back to what they did was they took the parkland illegally to begin with.
Right.
Right.
They constructed the roadway. So we want to go and restore Humboldt Parkway to get back to the original place that the parkway was, and that will eliminate the 33 essentially. So what the East Side Parkway Coalition would like to do would be to look at the environment. The environment involves the people. It involves the built environment. It involves the effects of all of that. It's the environment is all of those things. So
Right.
what we would like to do is to begin by restoring the parkway, extend that restoration practice to restoring the grid that was the fruit belt, restoring the park at the other part past the Agassiz to the 190 so that the Skagjakwada Expressway would become a parkway through Delaware Park, and the restoration of the, well, let's just say mid-city, all of those connections that were lost in along Cherry and Grape and Lemon, restoring that part of the city and those neighborhoods so that they're healthy, wholesome places to live.
Sure.
So it's not just what the New York State DOT tries to do is divide and conquer and focus on a small section. We look at the entire health of the community,
Right.
the neighborhoods, and the
Right.
people that extends beyond that 4,000-foot tunnel, and to say, remove the 33, restore the city of Buffalo to the best designed city in the world that it was, and that was, butchered by the Robert Moses concept of modernized, automobile-centric, that
Right,
thing.
right. Actually, I've been noticing that the traffic is getting worse all the time. But one
True.
of the things that I love about this plan, or what so troubles me about the other plan, is what I've heard, and you can speak to this as an engineer, is that, with that tunnel being created and the mile long or whatever, mile and a quarter long park being created with the trees planted and everything, and
Yeah.
then there'll be the because it's a tunnel, the materials that are put there to protect it. That, from what I understand, it's still going to need to be replaced every, say
It's a
30
roof.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that
It's a green roof.
because the trees are the roots will be eating away at that, and working. So it has to be redone. So the trees will have to be removed and started all
Right.
over again. It's going to be an endless cycle
Right,
of that.
and the DOT totally denies that, which is a complete lie, that it's going to last 100 years. It's not true. I mean, the longest this is a I forget the exact name of it, but it's 3 feet of soil. There's a membrane on top of the
3 feet.
concrete. 3
This much.
feet.
My
deep.
God, 3 feet means
feet.
just 1 yard. That
Yeah,
is, I know
right.
this.
From-
This is what I know from
Right?
From
some
sewing.
sewing. Yes, this is a yard. Yeah, nobody.
yeah.
I know it's a radio show, but you all know what a yard is. So that's how much it's going to be
3 feet.
between the ground and the
Top
top
of
of the
the
And
tunnel.
there's 6 inches of material, there's the membrane, then there's like a drainage
Right.
section and
Right.
things like that.
Right.
And maybe some styrofoam here or there. I forget the exact.
It's a web of lies.
But there's no source of water. I mean, these trees are not going to grow. I mean, we know how they've maintained the highway up until now.
Which
they
is
don't.
to say they don't.
They
right.
don't.
Exactly.
And,
Which is
you
why
know,
it's an emergency.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
And so what we'll wind up with is, maybe shrubs, no trees. I mean, trees are not going to survive that. And if they did, in the end, if there's a leak, they have to repair it because the ceiling of the tunnel will fall on the cars, like what happened in Boston.
Right. Right.
And so they're going to have to remove that, which means cutting down the trees in that section, and at some point they're going to have to replace the whole thing, and that means cutting the trees down, starting over.
Well, just think about the time it takes for a tree to grow
Right.
to 25 or
Yeah.
30 or 40 feet. So that's a good 25 years. And prior to that, it's just going to be scrubland.
Yeah.
They've put no thought into
Maintenance.
and the planning of what they're going to do and what this cap would be. And the only people cut off from the new 33 are the people that live there. They're removing the Humboldt exit on both sides so that in order to get onto this
You have to-
expressway,
Right.
it would be at Best Street.
So this is another assault on or
yeah,
or
and-
insult,
yeah.
really, lack of caring for the community.
It's
And
connects.
on top of that, our traffic in front of our house is going to increase thousands a day, like 7,000 or 8,000 a day.
And they will reduce the lanes.
Yeah.
So here's
and they're
a-
getting rid of parking along Humboldt Parkway,
Another-
reducing it greatly.
Another thing I want to bring out is, from what I understand, that filling in the parkway would be half the cost and half the time,
At least.
and leave that much more money for other transportation
Right.
needs, like public transportation,
Right.
which we need so
it would
desperately.
restore the connectivity throughout the entire project area, number one. And we're talking about a $1 billion boondoggle where very small amount of that money goes actually into the economy of the project area.
Right.
None of that goes into
Right.
restoring the thousands of jobs and and businesses. That place used to be lined with independent doctors, lawyers,
Right.
and small retail, butcher, baker, candlestick maker.
Right.
All of those things were drained from the area, and they will continue to drain it from the area by not restoring that connectivity.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit too about the traffic and traffic patterns. So one of the things about people say, well, where will all these cars go if they don't go there? So let's have an answer to this
The
question.
answer is right in front of your
Yeah.
face. The
Right.
design is
city.
what is
Right.
one of the top 10 neighborhoods in the country is Elmwood Village, where there is Bidwell Chapin Parkway bordered by Elmwood
Right.
in Delaware. That's the design that was there that was removed. So you would have exactly the same sense of place, the same connectivity, the same lifestyle that exists on the western portion that exists in a community that
Right.
is not primarily composed of African Americans and people of color. You would have exactly the same thriving multi businesses that you have along the Elmwood Strip and Forest.
So here's the other thing is first of all, my hero, Frederick Law Olmsted, one of many, but brilliant man who knew that we need nature in the city. And so this would restore that. And also the other thing I want to say is, and I don't know who was responsible for this, maybe he was partly, that radial design.
Right, Ellicott.
Yeah, was that Ellicott?
That was Ellicott.
Yeah.
The same. One of the brothers designed it here in Buffalo. The other one designed the same system in Washington, D.C.
So people can take those radials. And the other thing was, if somebody they say, oh, what about people going from the airport? Well, if you're going from the airport, just hop on the 90 and go to the 190.
But since this happened, we've been trying not to take the highway.
Right.
And so when we go to the airport now, I take Humboldt to
Right.
to Dodge, to Best, to Genesee, and I'm at the
You're
airport
just
in
as fast.
12 minutes.
Right. I
12
just
minutes.
I just did that with my brother just today.
Yes.
Where, he's very locked into the highways, always in a hurry. I'm in a big hurry a lot of the time too. But it's not, it's either, it can be, I'm going to say it depends, because we had terrible traffic on the way out when we were on the highway. And then when
Right.
we came back off the highway,
There's nothing.
it was nothing.
Right.
That's the fallacy
here's-
there.
This is the thing. Highways cause congestion. They
Right.
talk about, congestion. You're causing it.
Right.
Get rid of that thing. There's no reason to have 6-lane highway through a residential neighborhood.
When
Right.
they
It's insane.
when they shifted the focus to the automobile and they eliminated
Yeah.
the trolleys, they
Right.
eliminated the beltway, they eliminated all of the things that made that supported a city of twice the population, 500,000, and it was thriving, but that was part of the design of focusing on the automobile, which killed the ability to have the public transit system.
And which
Right.
is killing us,
Right,
because we
yes.
know it's creating,
Climate change.
here we are, one person per car.
Right.
Huge, big thing, 2 tons that need to be you need to be powered. And, when we could be using public transportation.
You
I
said
would love a
something.
trolley.
You said something earlier about Frederick Law Olmsted
Yes.
and his design. The other thing which you are frustrating is the restoration of the watershed, the Scajaquada Creek.
Right.
It
Oh,
wasn't.
right.
It was that they've invested $10 million into the northern part, $6 million into the southern part. It's just the disadvantaged communities within that cannot look to the restoration of
Right.
that creek that was sacred ground on the last piece of the Underground Railroad. That was the sacred ground of prior to, it was named after Philip Conjacity, the last of the neutrals, even prior to, there's a brilliant professor out there at University of Buffalo, Dr. Corwin, who's Native American.
Oh, yes, Jason Corwin. I just mentioned his name today.
He is
Today.
brilliant.
He certainly is.
And he mentions that we don't look in terms of, just the Seneca, even
Right.
though they are the most recent. If the Seneca themselves and the way they incorporated prior tribes and nations and peoples, and that it was a fluid community, and the things that they did and brought to it, all of that is wiped out. Along with erasing the Humboldt Parkway, they erased the history of the African Americans in the second part of the 20th century. They erased the relationship between the Jewish American community and the German American community, all of those things that existed beforehand. And when we were the city of good neighbors, it was the city of good neighborhoods.
Right.
That's what has been erased.
So if, and back to Frederick Law Olmsted and his design. So,
Brilliant.
I mean, I want to say, as somebody who lived in Boston, as somebody who is grateful to be living here now, and somebody who just went to Central Park for the first time, he designed all of those things. And they're all just, well, in Boston, they call it the Emerald Necklace. You
Emerald
can walk
Necklace.
14 miles around the city, barely crossing a road time to time.
That was the
just
design.
on the whole parkway. And then we have a parkway system that is everywhere, that gave so much access in different places. And the gem of it that is the Humboldt Parkway connecting Delaware Park and Martin Luther King Park.
Well, every
We could
major
restore that.
major cultural institution in the city of Buffalo is located along Olmsted's design, including the Kleinhans Music Hall, including the
Right.
AKG, including the History Museum, including the Science Museum, including that necklace. While their churches, I call them the historically black church congregations that continued to maintain those churches. Look at where they weren't. Look at what happened to the major churches that were not protected by those black congregations in
Right.
the 20th century. We have Calvary. We have what used to be. We still have Faith Missionary Baptist Church. The Michigan Street Baptist
Right.
Church relocated to Humboldt Parkway. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke at Faith Missionary Baptist Church in 1958. And that was because of the relationship between that Jewish community that sold that property. There used to be the Temple Beth David. Sold it to Faith Missionary in 1955, and Dr. Martin Luther King spoke there
that's
in
where are you
57.
talking about?
That's where the Skajaqua
Right, where the Skajaqua
actually crosses Humboldt Parkway, and that was there. Shirley Chisholm spoke at the Humboldt.
So
and,
it was there, but it's not there now?
well,
That's
the
what
church is
the
still
church-
there.
Well,
The
so where is
community
the church?
It's at 626 Humboldt Parkway. It's where the
Oh,
it's
oh.
where
By
the
the Skajaqua.
overpass crosses.
Right. Now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
All
right,
of the,
right.
when sense of place, the context, the layers of history. I could be able to I should be able to walk along that Humboldt Parkway to the place where Shirley Chisholm is buried in Forest Lawn Cemetery.
You know what it looks like? It looks like a grave wound. Like just
Right.
in the, when you see, like, it's separating.
It's a
You know,
scar.
it's
Yeah,
a
it's a
scar.
scar.
It's a wound. It's
Yep.
a big open
Concrete canyon.
Open wound.
It's with,
open wound.
and
Never
it's a
heals.
heat sink. Dr.
Oh, and the
Jennifer
heat.
Roberts, who was with the
Yes, she
in
spoke very
East Side
beautifully.
Parkway Coalition, defines the entirety of the situation as environmental racism.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So to me, it's just so clear. Why don't you talk a little bit more about that? You talked about one of the court cases. Do you want to, can you mention a couple others?
Well,
or-
Marcia and I filed a what's called an Article 78 to begin with that just asked the New York State Department of Transportation to act in accordance with the law.
Is
just to do what, from the very start, what they've done is rigged the game and engineered it, the reverse engineered it, so that they have
Right.
never conducted an environmental impact study.
Right.
So that they have never conducted, the no build alternative that they use to measure the build alternative against is actually a build later. There is no, every aspect of this has been rigged illegally to achieve what they wanted to achieve. There's currently at least 4 lawsuits. 3 of them have been combined within the city. There's one, the one I spoke of earlier, where they amended the complaint today, and there's a federal suit that attacks the environmental justice issues and
Right.
and that sort of thing. So there's a host of wrong that has been done.
And the Western New York Youth Climate
Climate
Council
Council, yeah.
also has a suit. I
Right.
know.
That's-
That
yes.
is that
Yeah.
is a major suit that dealt with the again the Green Amendment and the what they call CLIPCA, the Climate Leadership Climate
right.
Protection Act.
Right,
and
right.
that focuses on disadvantaged communities. Along where this project is, the 4 census tracts on either side of it are disadvantaged communities.
You're not kidding.
Yeah.
Right, from the effects of this. And here's the other thing I wanted to think about is oh wait, what was it? Just went out of my head.
On the legal?
There's the legal aspects, but it'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. But I just feel like there's no, I'm just not getting it. Anyway, I think that you've laid out, there's so much to the need. Oh, I know what it was. It was about, everyone says, oh, but this is disrespecting Barbara.
Oh,
Stephanie
Stephanie
Barber
Jeter.
Jeter, and disrespecting what's the group called again?
Restore Our Community
Coalition.
Rock, the Rock,
Right,
Rock. Yeah, that this is disrespecting Rock, and Rock was good with this. Well, as I understand it, Rock was good with it. What I hear is they were good with it because they were told this is the best you can get. This is as much as you can get, and in that environment, that seemed to be as much as they could get. However, we have made some progress since then in the awareness of environmental justice, in the awareness of how these highways cutting through
Right.
are separating communities from each other, from their resources, back to open wounds on the community.
Right.
And so I think that's a faulty argument to say, because ask the people now, and there are some people who still want it the way
There are
it's going.
different people have different viewpoints, and I won't demonize anyone. My dad loved the expressway. Like I said, when there are people that there are people that love tunnels. There are people that love the transportation aspect of it without regard to the other things that, the
Health or
air,
the environment,
the health,
economics.
the environment,
The
the
economics.
community,
Yeah.
the cohesion,
Right.
the sub. When you do something, you live with the consequences of it.
Right.
And so when they do not have a fluid, flowing community, and look along there are on every corner, they're void. They're voids. The whole place is a void. It is not a healthy, living, breathing, organic community where there
Right.
are independent
Right.
churches and schools and businesses and professionals. All of those things have been driven out of our community by this design, which was by the master builder, the power broker, Robert Moses, and his concept of faster, more efficient, modern, the strip mall. All of those things are the exact opposite of what we need as a living, vibrant, walkable community, and that will be that's the consequence of that.
Which goes into the also question about back to the radial
Beautiful design.
design, yeah, the roadways, is that also all those roads that don't get the traffic on it because people are
Right.
all gravitating towards
They're-
the expressway.
Right.
Those go on.
Yeah, no, I mean, people are so brainwashed, they'll drive out of their way to get onto the highway when they could take Genesee Street or
And-
Broadway or something, and they go out of their way to get on the highway to get stuck in traffic.
And that can revitalize the
Yeah.
community. So we
Right.
need
we need
so
people to use the streets.
right. We need, and actually, I'll never forget after the massacre when we held the March for Our Lives.
Yes.
And Jillian Hainsworth spoke. We were so grateful for her to speak at that gathering, which was a mournful gathering. And there were a lot of people from the suburbs who had come in, and she asked, "How many people here have never been here before?" And a lot of people raised their hand.
Yeah.
And she said, "Come back. We need you to come back. We need you to shop here.
Right.
We need you to come here. We need you to be we need to be, a whole community together."
Exactly.
And that is such a big, huge part of it.
It's you know what, that again, the good city of good neighbors, even though they were separate ethnic enclaves in certain parts. When I was a kid growing up, the part of Ferry Street beyond Humboldt Parkway was Italian. There were Italians, there were Jews, there were Germans, there were black folks. People, my grandfather would walk from Florida Street to the Broadway Market. People would go. That's why the Pine Grill reunion is still alive,
Right,
because
right.
people would exchange different parts. They would.
sure.
Some people would shop here. Some people would entertain here. Some people would, and it was fluid. You could move from community to community.
So, I'm thinking, first of all, our time is getting short now, and we still didn't start. We always put it on of like, how can people find out more, get more involved, which is so critical. So first of all, I want to shout out to your fantastic website, East Side Parkways Coalition, just written out just like that, no periods and no, East Side Parkways Coalition.org, right?
Correct.
.org? .org, I thought so. And so people can go there, and then I just was using it today. You go right there, and you will find that there's a place, there's a, action, call to action. And if you select call to action, you'll find a lovely page that gives you currently seven, or maybe soon to be 8 different things that you can do, which includes going to meetings.
Right.
What are your meetings currently?
They're twice a month. I think the first
And third
and third
Thursday.
Thursdays. The first one I think is at St. Philip's on is it 15 Fernhill?
Well, they alternate between
Yeah.
St.
But
Philip's,
the addresses are there, and then the second one I think is at the
the Delvin Grider
And
Community
definitely at
Center.
the, right. And then, or there's writing letters to the
Yes,
officials, and then
right.
all the details
Yeah,
are
we-
there of how to do that.
There's
and
and there's a petition too
right.
that we
and-
just started that for calling for the removal of the highways, the 198 and the 33, and restoration of Humboldt Parkway.
So I want to tell people too that first of all, this recording, if you're watching it live streaming, it's going to be rebroadcast as usual on WBNY on the Mondays, this coming Monday, and then the following Monday at noon, and then at 1 p.m. But the other thing is that there's the Living Green Festival is coming up
Right.
this coming Saturday. So for those of you who are hearing this on live stream, you're welcome to come to the UU Amherst Church, and you could talk with people, who the group will be tabling. Marcia will be
yes.
tabling.
Yes, part of the time.
Right, and I'll be there. I'll be there as well. So, but there's all these things to do. There's the letters, the petition, the meetings, there's public events. Let's see if I remember everything.
Tell your politicians
Yes.
Yes,
Call
to
tell
do the right
politicians.
thing.
Right.
Right.
Do the right thing. Amen. 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 Absolutely. So, and also calling Governor Hochul, which I
Yes.
want to say, calling Governor Hochul means go to 518-474-8390. That's Governor Hochul's number, 518-474-8390. So what I've heard is that her stance, which has been, that a lot of times different groups of individuals or government officials can sort of get in lockstep with each other because they don't want to get anybody ticked off at them. And we don't want to get anybody ticked off at us. However, it's still about do the right thing.
Right.
So to help people understand what the community wants and needs, what's going to really be the best, healthiest, sustainable, long-term solution, and then convey that to our elected officials.
Well, our community is the entire Western New York community.
Right.
It's
Every
everybody.
taxpayer within this range we don't want them to contribute to a $1 billion boondoggle that hurts the people that live in and around the area, that
Right.
hurts the people of the city of Buffalo. This is an environmental issue. This is an environmental justice issue.
Right.
It's not confined strictly to the people in the project
No,
area. It's
no.
combined. It's about making the city of Buffalo the best designed city in the world.
And also, it's about opportunity cost, because if
Exactly.
you want to spend $1 billion on something that's going to need regular, complete disruption of the community again,
Right.
huge
And the cost.
It's a waste of
investment
money.
again.
Yeah.
It's a waste of money, and that money, that extra money for doing it for half the price or less,
Right.
allows money for it can be used for transportation.
Community
Yeah.
benefit
It can be,
agreement. It
right.
can be
Fixing
used
the
for
roads,
restoration.
synchronizing our lights. I mean, there's so much they
And-
can do.
and-
The potholes in Buffalo are ridiculous.
And I want
Every
to say
street.
public transportation.
Public
is
transportation
huge.
needs to be. It's
Make it
make it-
affordable.
yeah. I mean,
affordable
get in-
and effective, because
Thank
when
you.
it's so inconvenient, then people
Right.
don't use it as a
Exactly.
vicious circle.
And think about climate change.
Right.
Do things that are going to help our planet, not hurt it.
Right.
We don't need cars. People don't. They want a walkable community. They want public transportation.
Well,
Right.
cars
You know,
are a fact of life.
Yeah, but,
and they're-
but
and-
they don't want highways. We don't need
but-
highways in the middle of a city.
But we can reduce the amount of dependence on
Right.
cars.
Exactly, and we
Right.
can,
I
and
mean,
you can see it changing every day. Whether people do the electric scooters, whether
Right.
they do, people won't be transporting the same way they do now. 20 years from now,
Right. Yeah.
it'll be. This was designed 30 years before
Yeah.
cars were ever thought of. And
Right.
the electricity went from the Niagara Reservation to the Pan American Exhibition, both of which Olmsted designed, the first park in the state park in America. He had a regional outlook, and that's what we need again.
Well, we need to we all have a stake in this,
Right.
for justice reasons, for
Right.
environmental reasons, for so many reasons, for economic reasons,
And health.
health.
I mean, think about having a parkway in front of your house. You can
Right.
walk from
Right.
Delaware Park to, MLK Park to Delaware and beyond.
Well, that's where I
You can
learned to
walk
play
downtown.
touch football.
So I'm looking now at, I said I was just working on this. So, so there were the meetings. So if you go to East Side Parkways Coalition.org, you'll see first of all, lots of studies, different studies,
Right.
traffic studies, health disparities studies, all kinds of studies and all kinds of facts to help you make up your mind. If you've made up your mind that you think that the tunnel is a bad idea and the full restoration of Humboldt is a good idea, then there's the meetings, the regular meetings, there's
Letters.
getting on the mailing list, there's donating to the organization, which is right now just running on
Fumes.
Fumes, and which needs, there's certainly a lot of legal help that's being needed.
Absolutely.
And a lot of it's pro bono, but you still
Right.
need to cover just some of the expenses.
Everything costs money.
Everything costs money. So donating yard signs, put a
Yes.
yard sign up. Just
Yeah.
say, I'm
Sure.
ready to put a yard sign up. Send letters to public officials, come to a public event, become a plaintiff in one of the lawsuits, and or sign the petition that we were just talking about.
Right.
And the petition will be at the table on the
Right.
Living Green Festival.
Yes.
It's
For sure.
also already at the West Side Bazaar, and I imagine it will be at
It's-
the Delvin Grider.
Oh, yeah,
Community
yeah.
Center.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we'll also have letters. If people want to sign a letter, they can write extra, take it home and mail it, or they can just fill it out right there, and
Sure.
we'll mail it.
Every
Oh,
other
good.
Thursday, there
Yeah.
is a meeting at 5:30.
Yes.
Either at Delavan Grider Center, there at
5:45.
Delavan and Moselle Street, or at St. Philip's Episcopal Church on Fernhill.
So
Near
people will
Off
just
Grider.
need to know which times which time is which and all of that, so that
Right.
can be on the website.
Yeah,
also.
I believe the first meeting is at St. Philip's. The second one is at
Okay.
Delavan Grider.
Okay. Well, I
So-
hope. Yeah.
Every
so
month.
just make sure
But
that's
look
on
at-
the
yes, look
website.
at the-
so
look at the
yeah,
website
it should be on the
to make
website.
sure.
So those are that's plenty of things that people can do, and I think I've deduced that Candace is not going to make it tonight.
She is
So
such a
she
busy
is an
person.
incredible. I was
She
amazed
has-
that she agreed to do it. So we're just sorry that she couldn't make it, but those things happen. So from her empty chair, though, I can tell you that I've seen how passionate. That's why we
How
asked her,
powerful.
how passionate, how powerfully she speaks to the health disparities, to what she's seen, what she knows in the community about how people have suffered, because of this parkway, and the stories of the
Right.
people, the illnesses,
Even in her
the-
own
In
family.
her family,
right?
yes.
That she's just, which is back to why she's so busy,
Yeah.
between that and the responsibility of the Delvin Grider and just being the community leader that she is.
Right.
But she is very passionate about this, and that's why I said I knew it'd be at
Oh,
the
she has been
Delavan.
invaluable in moving this struggle forward and
Right.
continues to
Yes,
be
yep.
a
Yep.
major,
Well, she's
major.
present in spirit,
Right.
and she's always part of it because
Yes.
she's such a
Tremendous person.
dynamic person, right?
Absolutely.
That she is. So now we're coming around to the end. So, is there something more that you want to add, or just in very brief?
Just real
like
quick,
a
the-
bottom line.
All I can say is that the DEC did a study over a year, a mobile source, a mobile set sensors, and they found high pollution in the area.
Right.
And they're looking for a strategy to find out what they can do to, reduce air pollution. And I say, remove the highway.
We know what
it's
it
right
is.
in front of your face.
Right.
But we
right.
need the beautiful thing about this effort is every single person has been involved, and we need every single person
Yeah.
involved.
Well,
No matter
thank you.
where you live.
Thank you.
Yes.
I really can't thank you both enough for your passion.
We
your,
thank you.
Your
Thank you.
your hard work, your persistence, and for coming on the show as busy as you are. It's just so important. We couldn't be more grateful for the work you're doing. That really is for the benefit of all, so that we restore our community by restoring Humboldt Parkway. And so
Well said.
Yes.
thank you so very much.
Thank
So
you.
this is Talking Peace, and together we've been talking peace in truth and love. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. Really.